Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Joe Vitale. You've reached Zero Limits Living. Every week, I bring you inspiration and information to transform your life, to uplift what you're doing. This week will be a juicy one for you, and I'll tell you about it in just a minute. This show has become so popular, you can now see it or hear it on 1,000 platforms across the world. Everything from Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, YouTube, Spotify, and probably anything you can name or anything you're on right now. To make this easy for you, I'm putting all the shows in one place. They're at ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com, and you can go there and sign up to be notified of every new episode. ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. People ask about my coaching program. Simply go to miraclescoaching.com. It's a program I started 20-some years ago. It's trademarked. It's a system that works. Find out, no charge, no obligation, miraclescoaching.com. My latest program has been taking people to the past to correct what went wrong there so they're empowered in this moment to create a future that they are loving. And that program is called mentaltimetravelsystem.com, mentaltimetravelsystem.com. I'm an author. My latest book, Unexpected Kindness. It's at Amazon, or go to unexpectedkindnessbook.com and check it out. I had hired Daniel many years ago to help me produce my first albums. And the very first singer-songwriter album I struggled with because I didn't have a musical background. I didn't have even belief in myself. I didn't have any sort of lessons in writing songs or in vocalizing anything or working with a band or putting a band together or going into the studio, not as a musician. I did it as a speaker. And I remember when I was struggling with the songs, like I want to write the songs for my own album and then go in the studio and record them. And there was a turning point moment when you said, it's easier to remember than it is to create. And I think I still got a crick in my neck because I did the whiplash thing and I turned around and was like, what? You know, my mind was turning inside out. And I said, what do you mean it's easier to remember than it is to create? You were explaining that in a future dimension, the songs I want to write already exist. They're
Correct.
already real. They're already concrete. They're already even recorded. And what I'm being asked to do is to remember the future. I'm so glad that you were given a book that actually made a difference, because you can tell by the books behind me, I'm always reading and always looking for something. I wanted to read something from your great book, Good Money Revolution. Everybody go get it. This was a turning point for me because I saw this. I actually folded back the page. I actually highlighted it. There's, I'm becoming one with the book. This is the untold secret to making more money. Giving it away. I called it the generosity purpose, which I want you to explain in a minute, but I want to go down to the other line I highlighted. Connect your cash to a cause, your money to a movement, your profits to a purpose. This is what changes everything. This is the generosity purpose. When I read that, that's what I went looking for you, because I said, I want him to explain this. I think this is a turning point in all of our understanding and relationship to money. And I totally agree with what you're already bringing us to the point of going to our past, looking for the limiting beliefs, journaling them, sharing them, releasing them so that we can have, much like the woman you talked about earlier, the transformation. You're a child of the universe. You have been given the greatest gift of all, life. You deserve the pleasures and the comfort of life. You deserve to live your life mission. And maybe, and this is what I had to do, you have to start looking in the mirror. And when you look in the mirror, you start to find the aspects of yourself that you appreciate. I'm not talking about an egotistical self-love. I'm talking about a healthy self-appreciation. And then you start remembering the times when you did things you were proud of. Oh, there's always some times in your past where you did the right thing, you said the right thing, and you can go back and focus on those. And you can enlarge the experience of loving yourself. When you love yourself, when you appreciate yourself, and when you appreciate money, you now alter your mind to allow more money into your life. This is the very first step in the 7-step formula for attracting more money. Now, in my book, I go into more length about all of this, but I'm giving you all that you need in this tutorial. I have transformed this show on Zero Limits Living into a freebie for you to transform your prosperity consciousness. You can leave scarcity behind, and it all begins with step 1, altering your thinking. There's people tuning in various stages. Some of them are lost, some of them are confused, some of them are hurt by COVID, some of them lost their job, quit their job, and there's a sense of aimlessness. And so it could be very useful for each of us, myself included, to reflect back on our upbringings and what were we fascinated with. For me, I do remember being fascinated with books. I do remember my mother reading stories to me. I think some were from the Bible. And I was fascinated with, I didn't know the concept of story, but I was fascinated with the stories. And so I was kind of going down a path that would lead me to be an author, but I didn't know it at the time.
Right.
And I've heard Steve Harvey say that we're all born with a gift. That's something that we do a little better than somebody else, and we really enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun for us to do it. So I think the very first thing I'm getting from you, which is priceless, is this whole idea that you're 5 years old playing the piano, and I'm 5 years old, and between making mud pies, I'm looking at books. And should we invite people to reflect back to their 5-year-old selves? Is that a place to start, you think? So what I'm fishing for, besides hearing this wonderful story and getting to know you and your decisions, is what we can learn from what you've gone through. So in other words, there's people that are watching or listening to this show and they're getting inspired. Maybe they saw the Kindness Diaries. Maybe they're going to go read the books that are out there, or your new book, Go Be Brave. And they've got the idea, okay, I'm going to do something. And I don't know what it's going to be. But first, they got the self-doubts. And we got to get past that. And then second of all, when they actually do begin the journey, how do they stay on the journey? You had one, I'm going to let you answer in a second, but I want to tell you, I was looking through Live, Love, and Explore, and this only arrived today, so I didn't get to finish the whole thing. But you talked about the faith that people look for comes after you've taken your action. It doesn't come before it. You might make a decision that this is going to work out, but actually the faith is in the action itself. In my opinion, spirit, God, the divine is leading the way for all of us.
Yes.
So the evolutionary changes that take place are actually being guided by a force that is moving us around like we're the chess pieces here.
Yes.
We act like we have control. We act like we are the ones making the decisions. But, you know, I would say almost all the time, 99.9999, whatever, we're not the ones. We're unconscious. We're blindly doing things. I think that force, the white light force, God, is the one maneuvering things. Even today, I had the same experience you were talking about. I wanted to hire this person who's in another country to do some work for me, service for me. He sold me. I was ready to do it, but he didn't want cash. He didn't want PayPal. He didn't want a bank wire thing. He wanted to do with something else, and it wasn't even Bitcoin. It was something, and I was like, what is happening? It is like the monetary system as I've known it is being disintegrated.
Yes.
And here's my hunch. I think it's being disintegrated for the very thing you pointed out. We have infused it with our survival, our emotions, our security, our personality, and it isn't supposed to have all of that or carry all of that. In and of itself, it's neutral. It's a piece of paper. It's cotton, as you pointed out, or it's metal, it's coin. I think it's being broken down, and this new thing, which is spiritually driven, is going to replace it, maybe so we can have a pure relationship with the financial transactions. Why did I attract this? How did I attract this? Oh, I secretly wanted this. This is the kind of blunt honesty you have to give yourself. And look, this is tough love. And I'm telling you something most people are not going to tell you. I am telling you, you are creating your reality. In truth, you're co-creating it because your belief system, the unconscious belief system in you that's in your subconscious mind, is joining forces with a kind of a dance with the rest of the energies of the universe, of the divine, of the cosmos, of whatever you want to call that, higher power. And between those two energies, you create your reality. Now, I mentioned I had been homeless. How in the world did I attract homelessness? Back then, which would have been around 1975, 1976, somewhere in that area, and I was homeless in Dallas, Texas, I wasn't really aware of the law of attraction. I was reading self-help books. In fact, where I was homeless was in the Dallas Public Library. And it was kind of cool because I'm surrounded by books. And you can see by the books behind me, I love books. I'm a book addict. So being stranded in the Dallas Public Library on one level was a blessing. But on another level, it's a curse. That's where I was living. I didn't have a house. I didn't have a car. I didn't have family. I didn't have a relationship. I didn't have money. I didn't have anything, but I had books. So I'm reading those books and enjoying reading the books in an air-conditioned library, which has a bathroom and it has water. So I have all of that. And we look back and we go, okay, Joe, if the law of attraction works and you're attracting things because of your beliefs, why did you attract homelessness? Then we take a good hard look, which is what I'm asking you to do. You take a good hard look at your life and your belief system and say, okay, what might I believe to create that kind of an experience for me? Because Lord knows I didn't intentionally say, oh, I want to be homeless and then go and create homelessness. You don't intentionally create most of the things going on in your life. Most of them are stemming from your subconscious. So I looked at it and I realized, and this came as a shock, I realized I was modeling my life after authors I admired who had been self-destructive. And my subconscious conclusion was, I have to have a dramatic, unhappy, adventurous, miserable life in order to be a successful author too. That was wrong, of course, but that was the belief. What I understand from the purity of the historic origins of the martial arts, what you just explained is exactly what martial arts was created for. It was the overcoming of your own limitations rather than overcoming opponents. So I'm impressed with you and what you just said here. You talked about overcoming fear, and so I always have an eye and ear towards how we can help the people watching or listening to this show. So what is a way for people to begin to overcome fear in their own lives? Hopefully they're not going to be attacked by 5 people like you in one of your tournaments there and contests. But what about the everyday challenges? You had made the statement, even facing the fear or the statement of, I'm not good enough. How do you get around that? How do we begin to dissolve fear for any of us, whether we're in Kung Fu or not? We're living our lives and we have fear show up. Gratitude is a very big element in Stoicism too. Towards the end of your book, you spend quite a bit of time talking about this. And I want to look at this for a couple of reasons. One was I was in the Ukraine. And so I spoke there. I have friends there. I was interviewed there. So I have very happy memories that I am grateful for. The man who got me speaking engagements in countries like Iran and Russia and Ukraine is still in the Ukraine. And he is my primary contact. And one of the things he said is that this is to help us awaken to what we've been taking for granted. Because even during the time of COVID, which we're still going through a pandemic, and Marcus Aurelius went through a pandemic that lasted, I think, 10 years, if I remember correct. We're still going through that. And so there's a whole lot of complaining. There's a whole lot of people that are not taking an inventory of what they can be grateful for. And now in the Ukraine, they've lost what they did have for the most part. And they're learning that, oh, I had something that I was grateful for, but I wasn't conscious of it. So this whole experience could be a trigger to make us conscious of what we're grateful for now. I saw the recent movie, The Mulligan, which caused me to go back and I watched The Cross and the Switchblade. Yeah, which you did in 1970, I think. And I watched the 50th anniversary re-release of the whole thing. And I saw the youthful you, and I remembered as I was growing up, you had $1 million smile. You still do. I mean, you just light up the universe when you smile, and you have the most charming personality. In your new book, in the Flyleaf, it says you were born with an above average intelligence. It also has a mention there about you being a lifelong athlete, playing tennis, you owned a basketball team. And it just seems, forgive me, that God plays favorites. It seems like you were really set up for success.
Yep, you're right.
You got the looks, you got the smile, you got the physique, you got the DNA, you got the timing, same timing. Elvis and you, Elvis opened for you. As I understand it, Viktor Frankl taught that there were at least 3 ways to find meaning. And again, I can be completely wrong here. Well, what do I know? So I'm putting it out there. Is the very first one is with a task. So you're being asked to, for me, I often will have a book that I think is really important. And so I will put my focus on the book. This is the next thing for me to do. It's given me meaning. It's given me drive. I want to do this book. It's outside of myself. It's for other people. So the very first thing is a task. And the second thing, as I understand it, is a love, which means like his first wife, which he lost, but he also had a second wife, which they were with, as I understand it, for a very long time. So a love. And then the third is the actual attitude you have towards whatever is going on. This is one of the reasons the book Man's Search for Meaning is so powerful for people they got a life-threatening disease, they're in prison or concentration camp. When they come across this book, even me going through COVID, divorce, and all of the things that were happening to me over the last few years, it reminded me that I had choice on how I looked at it. I answered questions in the Miracles coaching program. All of those have been turned in, or most of those have been turned into transcripts, which became books. There's now 3 volumes called Miracles Manual, Volume 1, 2, and 3. They are my answers, the questions and answers in the Miracles coaching program. You can have those books. Go to miraclesmanual.com, miraclesmanual.com, and you can have that. So I don't want to spend more time talking about me. I learned from Dale Carnegie, for example, and I want to focus more on you. Go back and rewatch this and find the books that really jumped out at you, that you really felt curious about, and go find them and go read them. And my only request is, if you like this particular episode, please leave a comment. And what I personally would like to know is, what books influenced you? Do you have a top 10 list or a top 5 list or a top 1 list? Sometimes all you have to do is take one book and you can live with it. Bob Proctor, who was also in The Secret, and he's the reason I wrote my book, Unexpected Kindness, had said that he kept the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill with him every day of his life. From 1967 to when he died, I think in 2022, Bob Proctor had that book and he looked at it every single day. That's how powerful that book was to him. So you can pick a book by any of the people I brought up today. One of my books, there's lots of success literature out there. It's been published since the 1800s and until even now, and more is coming out today than at any other time in history. So find a book that you love, start studying it, leave a comment to let me know which book of mine you really liked, which book I recommended that you really liked, which book that you've read on your own that you really liked. And then the last favor is tell people about the show. It's growing by leaps and bounds. This is called Zero Limits Living. I'm putting all of the shows at ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. You can watch the shows on 1,000 platforms or listen to them. Everything from Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and more. Be sure to check out Miracles Coaching, miraclescoaching.com. Check out mentaltimetravel.system.com. Check out my book, Unexpected Kindness. All of my books are at Amazon, so you can go on over there and just pack a lunch and start ordering different books and reading them on your Kindle if you want. I want to thank Lux Media Studios for making this show possible. Candace Barr for inviting me to do this show a year and a half or so ago. Look at us now. And Chris and Nick are doing the engineering. Chris is running the camera, I think, today. I want to thank all of you for spending your time with me. You are the ones making a difference in the world. You are the ones bringing the light to the planet itself. Thank you. I love you. Expect miracles.